Early on in my anime viewing career, I used to spend a lot of time on forums trying to find new shows. At the time, I'm not sure if I was too young to have a patient enough mindset to learn how to use certain anime websites properly or something, because I was like 11 or 12. But at the time, I would just go on Google and type in action fighting anime. I found a few great shows doing this. I remember finding Law of Weki this way and Flame of Recca, which I have a review for, go check it out. But there was one show that I found and fell in love with on there that I had no idea would go on in the next few years to come after and be garnered as one of the greatest anime of all time in its evolved form. That anime was the original 1999 version of Hunter x Hunter. Now, this review is going to be from the perspective of a Hunter x Hunter fan who's been a Hunter x Hunter fan when it was just a manga, 90s TV series, and a couple of OVAs from the early 2000s. Matter of fact, there's no other perspective I can give you because I've actually only seen up to Greed Island in the 2011 version. I have to talk about this timeless classic because a lot of people don't realize that this is another case of a wasted opportunity, because it is one of the highest quality anime you could ever watch in every area. Before the remake, no one was talking about Hunter x Hunter. It was literally like this Shonen Jump series that had a little cult fan base of people that knew about it in the dark corners of the web, like Annie, on Anime News Network and these different websites at the time. But for years, I wanted to do a Hunter x Hunter 99 versus 2011 video. But I always ended up scrapping the idea because when it's all said and done, the true winner is going to come down to a person's prototypical type of anime that they're attracted to. Like, let's think about this for a second. Do you think I'll be able to convince a modern anime fan who hates older anime, cause to them the animation looks bad and blah blah, you've heard it all before? Do you think I'll be able to convince a person like that why the 99 is better? Even if I throw them a justifiable reason like writing, art style, etc. And the same could work in reverse for a super retro anime head who is anti-digital. So it's really subjective at the end of the day. Anyhow, today's video is really and truly just an appreciation for this production, as well as me acknowledging some things that I believe it did better than the remake. Now, I know most of you know this show's story in some way, shape, or form, even if you haven't even fully watched it. But believe it or not, there will be always people who will watch these videos that haven't actually seen the anime at all. So let's do a quick refresher. Young Gon is an active, ambitious kid who lives on a fictional island in a world contemporary to the era the show is aired in, so it's the late 90s. After a hunter boats into the island and saves Gon from a raging creature in the woods, he realizes Gon's true identity and informs Gon that his father is a legendary hunter, despite Gon being told by his auntie and them that his father and mother died before he was born. This puts a battery in our young protagonist's back to make him set out to be a hunter, regardless of his auntie's opposition. Right there is when you get some insight on this kid's mentality and overall personality. And I say that because typically kids tend to find out their parents abandoned them and it ends up being, well, fuck them till the end. But Gon said, nah, if my pops left me, there must be a reason, and I'm going to go out there and explore just what that reason is. And to me, that's always been very telling about who he is as an individual, and it only unravels more as the show goes on. There's actually more to the story he was told, but again, with respect to those that may not have seen this, I won't go too deep and spoil certain things. After agreeing on a certain time limit in which he must catch the giant fish that swims, known as the Master of the Sea, he puts the work in and conquers this feat. This is the first area of the show I must point out that certainly outshined the remake. Of course, the remake is going to be more glossier and brighter and all of that, but the feeling I get every time I watch Gon master this fish is ridiculous. The way it was animated and executed in this series is a lifelong memory of mine. I saw this for the first time like 14 years ago, and I still get a jolt of energy every watch. Moving on, he will now set out to pass the hunter exam, and this begins our young protagonist's adventure into a world where he's been sheltered from all his life pretty much. Now, what I appreciated about this adaptation of Hunter x Hunter was the slow burn approach it took to establish a connection between our main protagonists. It starts off with Gon running behind Leorio trying to be friends with him and all that, along with small little cameos from Kurapika here and there before they all meet formally. This is before they even get on the ship to the main exam location. This is still on Whale Island. A side note, the beautiful thing about rewatching anime that have somewhat deep stories and all that is the foreshadowing that you missed the first time you watched it. Like in episode 2, there's a huge foreshadow of Kurapika's beef against the Phantom Troop when he's at a little restaurant and a spider crawls by his hand and you can like see his eyes go red and he whips it away with his fork. Yeah, One Piece has a lot of that little shit going on as well. But anyway, yeah, it's fun seeing all of this. Yoshihiro Togashi was also responsible for the early 90s classic Yu Yu Hakusho, and the original Hunter x Hunter feels more in pocket with Hakusho and the Togashi family tree as far as anime adaptations go. Togashi's style of shonen deals with a lot of wittier and strategic tactics in most cases when it comes to fights, and it shows more in Hunter 99. When you talk about Trick Tower and really the entire Hunter exam for that matter, it was never just a bunch of strong individuals with powers running around trying to bash each other's heads in. Some characters are evidently physically inferior to their opponents, and at that point it's going to take a combination of patience, intellect, and quite frankly luck to win these battles. This is a huge difference between this version and the modern one. It's still the same manga being adapted, and they both accomplish the same goal, but the original took its time to focus on allowing viewers to invest more into each episode. I almost feel like there's a spirit of drama that lurks through this anime. Not necessarily from a genre standpoint, but by the way Nippon Animation approached its delivery when they translated the manga into an anime, the darker writing, the choices of voice actors in both the Japanese and the phenomenal English dub from Ocean, and even the choice of music, which we get a whole section of this video dedicated to all that stuff later. Now, I know y'all might be wondering, particularly you who never seen this version and wonder why you should even watch it when there's a new high definition version out that paced the story 2 times faster, because it's a totally different experience, that's why. Even though this is not a comparison video of which is better, as I stated earlier, I think it would help a lot of you out if I did use the new one as an accessory in this video to describe what sets the original apart and maintains its value. The 2011 Hunter x Hunter, without a doubt, instantly will come off like a happy-go-lucky adventure anime of a bunch of friends on a quest to accomplish individual goals and become legends in their respected fictional world. Reading the synopsis of both shows, the 1999 should pretty much be the same thing, right? But not quite. It actually plays out in 2 different ways. Doing my best to focus on the 1999 because that's what this video is about, the Nippon adaptation doesn't feel like much of an adventure anime, even though in theory there's a huge sense of adventure. It doesn't feel as much like one as it feels like a story about a kid who meets a few peers and they all have goals that they are trying to accomplish. But they may lose their lives every step of the way and encounter some of the most grimiest experiences they have ever had and ever will go through in order to do so. I know some of you are like, huh? Is there that much of a big difference? Well, go watch the show with everything I said in mind and I promise you'll understand. Okay, so it's time to talk about the overall production of this anime. So, Nippon Animation was behind this series, and it seems like majority of their work was a lot of anime based on Western folklore and literature. These were mainly in the 70s and 80s. You know, they also did Romeo's Blue Skies, which is another series based on a book from a Swiss author, I believe. Aside from a few other unknown things the years before and after Hunter, they really didn't do much else. Needless to say, a studio like this is easily capable of producing a mediocre quality anime from a great manga, cause they clearly had been doing it for the years prior, otherwise they would have had a smash hit. But then again, Hunter x Hunter 99 deserved to be a smash, but it wasn't, so. But yeah, Nippon did this anime, man, and regardless of this being the only anime I have had a good perspective on that they've done, it's probably safe to assume it's their best work. 1999 was the final year where animating from cells, or what we call hand-drawn animation, was the industry standard. Anime watchers saw an immediate upgrade in majority of the shows to air at the turn of the millennium. If you want to talk about maximizing and pushing the limits of the machine, this would have to be the epitome of this. For all my Super Nintendo fans out there, I like to compare a show like this to a game like Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger came out in March 1995 in Japan, which was a year before the Nintendo 64 console would come out. Since November 1990 was when the Super Nintendo first dropped, it had a whole 5-year run by the time Chrono debuted, which is why a lot of the reputation it garners comes from people feeling like it utilized the system to its very core. And that's what Hunter Nippon did. Utilized the system to the very core in its own medium. For the time, it was flawlessly animated. There was little to no reuse of animation. The art style is a no-brainer, it's Togashi. But studios have butchered great art style of mangas in the past, so yeah. The tone of how this done was also noteworthy. I think the biggest difference most of us who cherish this one over the new one, it's the darker tone it has. A lot of it is really just gonna be the color palette they used, or whatever you call that, the coloring palette. I can't really fully describe it to you, just try and feel what I'm saying. And then of course, whoever directed it made it more dark and dramatic too through the execution of the story. Wrapping up this show's visuals, man, the backgrounds are just so astonishing. The fact that majority of the setting our characters navigate through is a rural setting, there's a lot of nature, skies, seas, trees, everything. Some of my favorites would have to be anytime there's a sunset or a sunrise. Man, the long lost days of when a show felt like watching an animated manga. Everything was lovely, man. Just look at that, my friends. This is what our love for older series sometimes is all about. Side note, when binging this, it almost could feel like you're watching the story in real life, because you'll see certain parts of the Hunter exam start off in like the morning or whatever, and then gradually approach nighttime. It's crazy. Wrapping up the production though, the music deserves to be spoken about too. I can't really pinpoint a genre to the choice of soundtrack in this one, but I can say it definitely gives off strong pirate vibes. This would be during the actual show's progression, like as the story is playing out, as characters journey through the Hunter exam or go out and do other things, you know. But then at other times it kind of brings in this jazz vibe. It's really great stuff. I literally am a fan of every piece of music they used in this series. I mean it. Every single soundtrack is amazing. The opening, Ohio, which translates to good morning in English, this is one of my favorite anime openings. I'm serious, like I used to ride around in the car to it and all that. It fits the vibe of the show sonically, but in retrospect, it actually is a love song if you look up the actual lyrics. That's the first opening. I really don't care about the second one, which comes in the last quarter of the show. Song of the Wind is the main ending for the show, and this is probably the weakest of the music, despite how amazing and melodic it is. It literally plays for halfway into the series, and then same thing, I didn't really care about the second one enough to talk about it. A wasted opportunity. It hurts me every single time I rewatch this show. It hurts to know that this came out the same year as One Piece, and you see where One Piece is today. I know a serviceable version of Hunter x Hunter came out and did what it needed to do, but this to me is the one that truly was meant to represent the franchise. Everything about it feels right, and it always causes the gears in my brain to start turning when I fantasize about what this could have been, if it even went on to be a 200 plus episode long running show that covered more ground. I think everyone knows that this was the adaptation that truly led us into the mind of Togashi and allowed us to feel what his intentions were when he created this story. The emotions hit a bit harder, the tone was a lot more fitting, and it was even slightly unique for the time. As far as its own merit without being compared to the other one, this was and is a hidden gem. The first time I found this, all I could think to myself was, why doesn't anyone know about this? Especially with the brand it's associated with. You gotta understand, it was like 2008 at the time. Anything with the Shonen Jump label beside its logo was a big deal, and this was the heyday of the big three. So Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece were repping Shonen Jump. And it went on and on with series like Full Metal Alchemist, Death Note, need I say more? Anyway, if anyone ever wondered why exactly this ended, Nippon had caught up to the manga and decided to just stop instead of continuing with filler. Well, in hindsight, I guess I appreciate them ending it off with the final product being 100% quality top to bottom, but goddamn. Lastly, I've spoken about this in videos before, but I'll briefly go over this one more time because this is a huge deal when talking about the show. The home media in the West for the original Hunter x Hunter series is one of the rarest and most expensive to collect. Viz Media released 4 box sets over the course of a year between December 08 to December 09, with partnership from Warner Bros. And I'd say it's safe to assume lack of popularity caused this release to flop. From what I understand, they didn't sell for very long, and when you combine that with low copy sales, that makes for a very scarce product once they're completely eradicated from physical and online shelves. Each of the 4 digipack sets are always only available for like 1 to 2 copies, if at all, online at a time, rather it be eBay or Amazon, for hundreds of dollars. And once they sell, they kind of become impossible to find for the next several months. And because everyone looking for this basically is a niche collector, we know exactly what we're looking for. So once we have them, there's no chance in hell we're selling them. And that's why they will just continue to get more and more rare, until they ultimately become obsolete. Not to mention, this isn't just some bare bones release. As you can see, this is the epitome of a collector's item. They come complete with loads of artwork and sentimental value. Another testament to the fact that it's clear that everyone to have gotten involved in this seems to have known the value the show holds. So why was it a flop? But hey guys, the 1999 anime adaptation for Hunter x Hunter showed so much promise, and it delivered in terms of what it came to do and did. I put this up there with situations like Rurouni Kenshin swapping the third and arguably most important manga arc for filler, and even Flame of Recca ending after the tournament instead of animating the final arc from the manga. But as we all know, there is no changing the past, so it's time to move on. But as long as these sets continue to sit on my shelf, I'll always come back to rewatch this every handful of years or so. It's my personal top 5 anime series of all time, and it holds so many memories in my heart from back when I was a preteen, and I'll never forget it. And that's it. Have you seen this version of Hunter x Hunter? If you have, which one do you like more? What do you think could have happened if it never ended? Should I continue on with the 2011? Let's talk about it. Like the video, comment down below what y'all want to see next. I'm out. Thanks for watching. Animebackwhen.